going into this game, there was no doubt in my mind that I thought the Dallas Cowboys were going to lose. Let's just be totally honest. And all of America thought the Dallas Cowboys were going to lose. Because of this, the Packers defensively has had the best defense in the NFL. Their offense is young and is very capable of being elite. Let's pivot over to the Dallas Cowboys. They laid a goose egg against the Chicago Bears. They are without CeeDee Lamb. They're down a couple offensive linemen. The defense is absolute garbage, one of the worst in the league. So you, just from an analytical perspective, from just being a commentator of football, if you even know anything about football, even if you know a little bit about football, you can conclude from those things, okay, this is a layup game for the Green Bay Packers. The Dallas Cowboys have absolutely no chance. Well, ladies and gentlemen, were we ever wrong? Because the Dallas Cowboys actually showed up last night and played some football. Particularly only on one side of the ball. The defense got a little highlight. They got a little strip sack. Shout out to James Houston. He's played absolutely phenomenal. He needs more reps. But if you are a fan of offense, you enjoyed last night's game. If you're a fan of defense, I know you hated every single second of this game. But this is the best that I've seen Dak Prescott play since his rookie season. And this game that Dak Prescott played was arguably the best game that he played ever. I mean, from a statistical perspective, here was Dak Prescott's numbers. Dak Prescott was 31 for 40, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He had a quarterback rating of 94 and a passer rating of 124. You know the criticisms we've had of Dak Prescott over the years, all these things we always say, oh, Dak's not good enough to get it done when you need him. He don't give you that drive. I think they came out with a stat during the game. He's only had like 7 game-winning drives over here the course of his career in the fourth quarter. And I even had self-doubt myself. Because near the end of the game, they were going blow for blow. Every time the Cowboys scored, the Packers went back and scored. I had no faith in my defense to get a stop. I knew they were cooked. I knew every time that Jordan Love was touching the ball in that second half, they were going to score. And guess what? The Packers did score every time they touched the ball in the second half. I think altogether they scored 4 touchdowns and 1 field goal at the end of the game. That is what the Packers did on offense against my defense. So of course, I had no faith that the Cowboys were going to get a stop. But what did the offense do? They came back and they answered the call. I got to give a whole lot of credit to Dak Prescott. I got to give a whole lot of credit to Brian Schottenheimer for seamlessly, and we're going to get to this topic because I've been sick and tired of hearing all this Micah Parsons crap, because we know the highlight going into this game was, this game was inevitably going to show who won the trade. I didn't necessarily 100% believe in that narrative, because we don't know if the Dallas Cowboys is going to win this trade unless those draft picks that they got turn out to be absolute studs. About 75% of those picks do. But we don't know if the Packers is going to win the trade, because they have to win a Super Bowl in order for this trade to even become remotely winnable on their side. So going into this game, what was the Cowboys' game plan? Neutralize Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons was literally not a factor. I've seen all the stats today. Chris Collinsworth from Pro Football Focus gave Micah Parsons a 94% PFF grade yesterday. He was the highest graded player in the great game. I don't understand. Well, I don't know if he was exactly the highest graded player. I don't want to fact check me on that, but I'm 100% certain I thought that's what that tweet said. Ari Mariov, whatever the fellow's name, I know I botch his last name all the time. He came out with the stat. But how do you watch that game and sit there and say Micah Parsons was the best player on that field last night? He wasn't. He was a non-factor. And that little bullcrap sack that he got, and I've seen a lot of people say this too, oh, Dak Prescott was going to score a touchdown. No, he was not. Dak Prescott, at the time, I think the Dallas Cowboys, they were on the 3-yard line. Micah Parsons came from behind, got Dak Prescott in the legs, tackled him, no gain, and it counted as a sack. Whoop-de-doo for all the bettors out there on FanDuel, wherever your respective underdog, whatever your respective betting site is, all y'all were getting super excited because y'all thought that, Micah Parsons was going to. I'm sorry I'm everywhere, but I've just been so frustrated last week seeing all these people in the media, the ESPNs, the Fox Sports, everybody talking about, oh, they're going to whip up on the Cowboys. Micah Parsons is going to sack Dak Prescott multiple times, and he's going to look up to the box and see Jerry Jones. None of that happened last night. From my recalling memory, and I watched this game from 15 minutes in the first quarter all the way till 12:15 at midnight when this game was roughly over. I could recall one time Micah Parsons got close to sacking Dak Prescott. It was the play that he made where he honestly was very close to stripping Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott loaded back. Micah Parsons, all he had to do, and Chris Collinsworth pointed it out. Great job by Chris Collinsworth. All Micah Parsons had to do was literally punch his arm up. The ball is gone. But he didn't. Outside of that, Micah Parsons was nowhere to be found. If anything, he was more on the lines worried about back problems on the sideline and being had to treat by medical staff than anything else. And back to the Dak Prescott play. No, Micah Parsons was not. Dak Prescott wasn't scoring. Number 56, I think his name is Edgerrin Cooper for the Green Bay Packers. He was going to have that tackle. Dak Prescott is not elusive. Dak Prescott would have had to ran over 2 or 3 dudes to get that touchdown. That was not happening. That was not a game-saving play. But that's more the glazing that the media likes to do with these players and the overarching theme of the game, like, oh, who won the trade with the Micah Parsons stuff. It stems from stupid stuff like that. Let me cool down just a little bit. Let me match back. I've been super frustrated with the Micah Parsons stuff because he was a non-factor in this game. And I'm not saying 100% Jerry was right for trading Micah Parsons. I really do think that if Micah Parsons was still a member of the Dallas Cowboys, I think they would be better than what they are on defense. But you cannot look at this Dallas Cowboys defense and legitimately say if Micah Parsons was on that defensive line, that day would be any better, like light years better than what they are on defense now. No. The Dallas Cowboys need players everywhere. They are horrendous at linebacker. They are horrendous at safety. Outside of Wanye Thomas, which I think he's a pretty good player. They're horrendous there. Cornerbacks, they're banged up. Siobhan Rebel, we're wanting to wait to see what he can look like. Nick Saban said he's the best thing since sliced bread. Hopefully he is. Trayvon Diggs is a shell of himself. Deron Bland, he's coming off a little foot injury. Last night, he didn't have his best game. And don't even get me started about the defensive line. The edge rushers, they're putrid. Maybe if you plug Micah Parsons in their edge rush, who knows? But I really don't think the Packers scored 40 points. Maybe, just maybe if you have Micah Parsons on the field, the Packers scored 30. But even in this case, I don't think Micah Parsons would be good enough for the Cowboys to be Super Bowl contenders. That is where we're at. But I'll save that later on. But I got to give credit to, again, and let's go back to what I was talking about, Brian Schottenheimer literally taking Micah Parsons out of the game, being able to still have an efficient run game. Jamal Williams, again, is averaging almost over 4 yards a carry every single game. That is something that Brian Schottenheimer wanted to do in the beginning of the season, and he has been able to capitalize on that. He wanted to be able to run the ball, and he's been doing that super efficiently. What about George Pickens? George Pickens showed us why it's his free agent year. After this year, go play for a contract. I talked about it earlier this last week. What did George Pickens do? He went out, got a $134, 8 receptions, 16 yards per catch, 2 touchdowns. He balled. Jalen Tolbert, as much as I crap on Jalen Tolbert, he showed up. Kevontae Turpin, very efficient in returning the football out of a couple of tries, but specifically later on towards the end of the game, Those 2 kicks that he ran back to give the audience great field position around the 40-yard line, that was huge. He made a couple big 3rd down, 4th down catches as well. Ryan Flournoy, a guy I love, even though there was one time where Dak Prescott had to get on him for not being on the right side of the field. It was towards the end of the game. He showed up and contributed as well with the absence of CeeDee Lamb. It's just, you cannot watch this game and say that the Dallas Cowboys totally suck absolute garbage, because I think they're well coached outside of the defense. I'm just talking about from a head coach's perspective. They are well coached. Brian Schottenheimer manages the game well. He's called an absolute stud of an offensive game plan all year so far. And he done this type of damage against a defense in the Packers who everybody, even myself, thought was the best thing since sliced bread. They have Luke Van Ness, you have Micah Parsons, Xavier McKinney in the back end, even though their DBs is going to end up being the worst part of their defense because they are absolutely just horrible when it comes to cornerback. They got to really, they trade away their best corner the offseason and Jair Alexander. They really need to look in the trade deadline just like Washington did last year and look and get in a corner because Nate Hobbs was getting absolutely cooked last night by George Pickens. But I think the Dallas Cowboys so far has been well coached. I gotta give credit to Brian Schottenheimer. Clayton Adams, I think is his name, is the offensive line. He's supposed to be the offensive coordinator and the run game coordinator. He has revolutionized our run game and the play of the offensive line. They did a phenomenal job. Literally, Nate Thomas come in for a couple of snaps. Guyton was hurt. They've been banged up. You got TJ Bass playing right guard. Brock Hoffman playing center. You have three of your starting offensive linemen out at one point in this game. And yet the Packers still couldn't get pressure on Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott looked relatively comfortable, and he had a clean pocket for most of the night. So I got to give credit where credit's due there. But defensively, the Cowboys need players so bad. Like Jake Sanborn being out there at the linebacker position, I promise you, and this is no shade against Jake Sanborn, if he were to get cut by Dallas today, nobody's picking him up. He's slow. He's not athletic enough to play linebacker. In today's game, when you need speed, he would have been great 30 years ago, just not no more. You need speed. That's what Maurice Littlefowl was supposed to provide. He just wanted to make idiotic plays throughout the game. He made a couple of stupid and boneheaded penalties that cost the defense to possibly getting stopped, specifically near the end of the game. He threw Jordan Love threw the ball to the flat to Damian Wilson. He drops it. So it was about to be roughly, 38, 39. And then Maurice Littlefowl commits the dumbest penalty and cost the Cowboys a chance on getting a third down stop. He made a couple bonehead penalties. Shamar James, he didn't have his best game yesterday. I really didn't see him flash anywhere on the field. If anything, he looked like he was in the wrong spots. He looked slow. Kenneth Murray's really your only bright spot, but Kenneth Murray's not good enough to be your star linebacker. He is a great Robin, but we need to find a Batman at the linebacker position. Maybe that can be Demarion Overshawn. I just don't want to rush him back because I don't even know if it's going to be worth it. But we just need players on defense. But I just want to say, if we watch this game, and granted, I think the Packers relatively have a very lenient schedule going forward for the rest of the season. Let's just pump the brakes on the Packers just a little bit. I worry about the Packers because I'm not 100% sold on Jordan Love. This is why. If you guys watched that late game management by Matt LaFleur, and I think this is another reason why, that late game management by the Packers was absolutely abysmal. Look, you have a team in the Dallas Cowboys. We know all the stuff that's going on in writing with this game. We know all the emotional ties with Micah Parsons, the emotional ties with, Jerry Jones, and how Micah wanted to get revenge for his team. Jordan Love talked about that in the post-game interview. We know all these things. So as the Packers, you think you want to go in this game and make a statement. But in that final possession by Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love, that was horrific game management. You have 27 seconds left. You dump it off. Damian Wilson. He gets tackled in bounds. You have no more timeouts left. You used them all. At that point, is what? They were 20 yards away from scoring a touchdown. You have no timeouts. Jordan Love, you had 25 seconds left. When you clock the ball, it's going to be third down. Or it actually might have been fourth down if they would have clocked the ball. The game is like relatively over with. If you're going to take a shot, make it a little bit quicker. Jordan Love then gets them set up again. They look lousy setting up. And Jordan Love snaps the football with 7 seconds left and takes a shot at the end zone. And they got lucky enough to where the game ended in 1 second. Now, that was the longest second I've ever seen in my life. I still replayed the play multiple times. And, we have the home clock operator on our team. Just to make a little quick joke here, I don't know how the man has a job this morning. I'm just picking, man. It's not that big of a deal. You're not the reason why this game was tied. But if you're the Packers and Jordan Love, that could have went massively backwards. Do you know the story we could be having today if Jordan Love, after playing a phenomenal game, by the way, let's just highlight, give Jordan Love his flowers. He was 31 for 43, 340 yards, 3 touchdowns, 58 QBR, which is kind of weird, and a 118 quarterback rating. I don't really understand why they gave him a 58 QBR. That's weird. But you are phenomenal all game. And it's like when the thick gets thin and you need to make plays and you need to make smart plays, you make a dumb play. He made a couple of dumb plays. Like, if you want to win the game and you're playing to win the game, which obviously you wanted to play to win the game because you wouldn't have thrown the ball in the end zone with that much time left. You wanted to score a touchdown. Why were you throwing checkdowns to begin with? Throw the ball to the end zone. Multiple times before then, if you're going to want to take a shot in the end zone, because I promise you, the way that game was going, the way our back game was playing, he was going to get his shot. But that was horrific game management by Matt LaFleur. And I know Matt LaFleur, they showed a shot of him talking to Jordan Love, when they were getting off the field and kicking the field goal. I really don't think that was Matt LaFleur's plan. I think Matt LaFleur was like, clock the ball. And I really put all that on Jordan Love. Like, Jordan Love, the conversation we would be having today if the Packers lost that football game would be crazy. From talking all that talk the Packers did about wanting to go 16-0, go undefeated, their young tackle on the offensive line, he talked about that. To then saying all that rah-rah, last week you lose to the Cleveland Browns, who look absolutely awful offensively, and then you lose to a team like the Dallas Cowboys, who were handicapped going into the game, and they beat you. When historically, and you can't say on the road because, let's be honest, the Green Bay Packers have owned the Dallas Cowboys at that stadium for the past good while, 10 plus years. They pretty much own specifically Aaron Rodgers as a Green Bay Packer, he owns AT&T Stadium. The Packers themselves own AT&T Stadium. It's like they love playing there. It's literally their home away from home. From Lambeau Field. But let's just pump the brakes on the Packers. I know I had them on this high horse going into this game, and then coming out of this game, I really, from watching teams like the Rams and, Philly, the Packers, if they don't, which I think they can get this defense together because the way they've performed so far. I just think, the Dallas Cowboys, maybe it was a tough matchup for them. They haven't faced a really good run game like the Cowboys have. I don't know. But the Packers need to get it together if they're going to win a Super. Because if they go out there like that in the postseason, you're not beating the Rams. You're not beating the Eagles. And their aspirations for the next couple of years, because they are young, they have Super Bowl aspirations. And the way they're looking right now, I think they said it's their bye week this week. They need to take this time to reset. They got an easy schedule. They're going to win their division more than likely. But they need to lock in. And I know I said I'm not 100% sold on Jordan Love just because I don't. Jordan Love just doesn't seem to have that it factor. And maybe it might be a personal opinion of mine. I don't like the fact that Jordan Love shows no emotion. Whenever bad things happen, it looks like he don't know what just happened himself. And he just doesn't look the part. He doesn't play the part. He isn't your Dak Prescott on the microphone. He doesn't have the tenacity and the eager to win like a Patrick Mahomes. He reminds me more of Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Hurts has more of a demeanor to him. He has more of a presence. When you look at Jalen Hurts and you hear him talk, you feel like he's a leader. I don't think Jordan Love is a leader. To be honest, I don't think Jordan Love could really persuade me into making a sandwich. I don't think he can. That's just the type of vibe the guy gives off. But there's so much to take away from this game. I know I have talked for a good while now. Let me see how long I've been talking about this. I've talked about this topic for 25 minutes. Oh, Jesus. I need to move on. But, yeah, guys. I could sit here and talk about this game for another half hour. But let's just go ahead and close it off. I'll talk about it later in the week. Shout out to Brian Schottenheimer and Dak. I think they play phenomenal. Jordan Love as well. Everybody played phenomenal. It ended in a tie. It shouldn't have. Something. I'll make a quick note. I don't like ties. I think the NFL should promote something. And I was talking about this with my dad. I'm like, look, why don't they just do a kickoff? Like literally do a field goal off, like they do in soccer, like a penalty kick. Why don't they do that to break a tie? That'd be interesting. Something to just think about. But I'm everywhere. In this game, I could sit here and talk about it for another half hour. But yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and just move away from this topic. We will discuss this Wednesday. I promise you. I have so much to take away from this game and so other topics. We have to move on. I've been on this way too long. Let me know what you think. All right. So let's get to this next game, okay?